7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, and welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are in studio, myself and Tony Johnson, and we are going to do a fantasy football podcast, which is something I've never done, so I'm super excited about this. And it may go terribly wrong or off the rails, but that's kind of half the battle here when you're doing podcasts in realms you're not usually used to. I like to play fantasy football. I'm not sure I'm necessarily qualified to talk about it, but if you listen and you take my advice, good luck to you. But Tony, what do you think? I mean, have you ever done a fantasy football podcast?
Not a podcast specifically.
I know you've played fantasy football,
yes.
I'm sure, in your life.
No, not a podcast specifically, but certainly had long, very winded discussions in the fantasy realm.
Winded discussion.
Very much so. So yeah, I've been playing since before it was at all popular. We were the dorky kids pouring over players in the.
And I've been playing since I was
draft.
10 years old. I mean, we're talking almost 20 something.
Yeah,
I'm not going to divulge my real age, but 20 plus years in the fantasy football realm. Now, speaking of dorky, this sounds weird. I subscribed to Sirius Radio and have been listening to the Fantasy Football Channel. Mm-hmm. I used to have it. It went off. I didn't want to pay the price. I re-upped. To me, it just seems, like these guys are getting paid. Obviously, there's the former players, which that makes sense. But some of these guys I've never heard of just seem like regular dudes getting paid to give their opinion on shit that they could be completely 100% wrong on in 17 weeks.
Seems like good work if you can get it. Yeah, for sure.
That is fantasy football capitalism.
And that voice you hear, we've got a special guest. I don't know what you go by. None of us go by our real aliases here. But what do you want to go by for the podcast? Johnny D?
That works for me.
Johnny D. All right. So Johnny D's
the handsome black guy, whatever.
The handsome black guy. The HBG. Now we'll just go handsome black guy. A handsome black guy, Johnny D. That's Johnny D on mic 3, the token mic. Well, that you probably shouldn't say that.
Walk yourself into that
the
one.
The token Tony mic. Nah, we're just going to scrap that. Mic 3. Yeah, I walked right into that. That was unintentional. Everybody gets one. So, all right. So it's fantasy football time. It's NFL. It's one of the most exciting times of the year. It's draft. Everything else is kind of a byproduct of what you did this day and how you can adapt and react. Is this, Johnny D, your favorite time of fantasy?
Definitely. And like you guys were saying, I mean, I go back to before it even being on the internet. My first league, I remember grabbing a
newspaper
and having to do the scores,
checking stats.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Writing it down. I mean, I would literally remember drafting Jerry Rice.
I don't think I drafted Jerry.
Wow.
Yes.
Jerry Rice when he was with Oakland.
Yeah.
This is when Jerry Rice was the consensus number one pick back to you.
Oh wow, yeah, you're dating me on that one.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, because I remember being in a keeper league. I was 10 years old, and my dad was a big fantasy football guy, and he put me into a league. And I remember the first year I drafted, Antonio Gates was a sleeper pick. You know what I'm saying? And Brett Favre was a keeper. So I know Monday morning you're out and looking at the Tribune. All right, 11 catches, 124 yards. So that's 12.4 points. And adding it all up and okay, and then making sure that the commissioner has your score matching with it. And score corrections weren't a thing back then. You know what I'm saying?
It is what it was.
It was what it was. The NFL didn't go back and, this was a pass, not a run. Yeah, fuck that. So, all right, well, I'm excited, as you can tell. Let's thank the sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, for airing our dribble. And let's do some fantasy football, gentlemen. This is like I said, this is a topic that I know a lot about, but I don't know if I can speak a lot about it. So we're going to have a little fun. And the first thing I want to kind of go over is I want to get your opinions on obvious, choices. Like, okay, so the first round, I always say theoretically you're mapping out, no matter what pick you have, 1 through 10, 1 through 12, God forbid 1 through 20. You kind of know where there's like a 3-player angle on what you're going to take, where you're going to take it. But, if you had the first pick, standard or PPR or otherwise, or auction, I guess auction's not really relative in this, but I mean, who is your obvious first pick in the draft?
I don't think there's an obvious first one. I really think it does depend on the scoring setting and where you're at and where you stand. I know the consensus right now is probably Barkley at 1, but I very much stay away from running backs going into their second year for a variety of reasons. Usually it's
Film? Like more film on a guy?
Oh, yes. Defenses adjust. Yes, definitely one. The second one is they've come off of a full year in the NFL, which is a grind, and it's much more than you ever see in college. And
Sure.
There's usually just a level of regression there.
And that's usually like, you usually see that towards like week 11, week 12 in a rookie.
Sure.
But
yeah.
not him.
No, he did have an excellent season last year. To me, this is a bad Giants team that is an injury or two away from being one of, if not the worst team in the NFL. And I don't want to have a player, especially a running back, that's going to be in games where they are behind very often to be counting on. So that's why I stayed away from Barkley there. For me, Again, in a PPR format, I stuck with. I haven't had an early pick, so it hadn't mattered. But I stuck with Kamara as my guy, just because I'm still a little bit unsure about McCaffrey and how well he can hold up. Again, another guy that is just coming off his first real season, and it's just I'm a little bit wary right there. So I did decide to go with Kamara as my number 1 overall choice. But again, I don't think there's necessarily a right or a wrong terrible answer, but to me, Kamara's the safest pick.
Do you believe Kamara is also kind of coming off a first real workload season? I mean, Mark Ingram's gone, and actually, Latavius Murray has been brought in to fill that role. Kamara, to me, don't disrespect, kind of fits into that same mold, in your opinion. Do you just have a little bit more confidence in an Alvin Kamara type versus a Christian McCaffrey type, especially Christian McCaffrey, no disrespect to the receivers, but he seems like a lot more of the offense than Kamara. I mean, in New Orleans, you have Michael Thomas, and like I said, the aforementioned Tay Murray. Any real reason he stands out above?
Well, it's one of not a super. First of all, I think he's a better player. I think Kamara is a better player, overall player, so that does help. But the second reason is I actually do like when there are other players around. I'm not a fan of situations where it is one guy do or die type of offense, and I do like the fact that New Orleans does spread the ball around pretty well. Your point with Murray is good. I do think that he will probably get some of those very, very close goal-to-go situations. It certainly won't be Kamara unless it's some sort of special gadget type of play. But I do think that overall, having other places to go and having a quarterback that is so capable that Breeze is, Kamara gets the ball in space and he gets really great opportunities because of that. So to me, I see it as more of a positive than a negative.
And if I can add,
yes,
you
please.
want a running back on a team that's going to have a lead. And if we're projecting...
They're going to have a what? A lead?
It's going to have a lead.
Lead, okay. I said league. I'm like, they're all in the league.
I mean, in most situations, why I agree. I would probably go Kamara over Barkley or even Christian McCaffrey is... I envision New Orleans having those 28-7 games going into the fourth quarter where Kamara just gets 7-8 carries and just stretches his numbers out.
Okay, that's fair. So... obviously same question, so it sounds like Kamara is kind of your consensus as well. It's not easy, and there's no wrong answer,
not,
honestly.
especially this year. I mean, even the last 2 years, to me, Ty Gurley was the number 1 pick last year. Going into every year this year,
it was Gurley or Bell, pretty much. Whoever took Bell got F in the A.
Yeah. But you have that consensus 1 or 2 players. This year, to me, it's completely wide open. You can literally justify.
You could justify Elliott at that point.
Yes.
No, if he gets in the damn
contract
camp.
situation. Not in the mix. You definitely can make a case for Ezekiel Elliott. You can make a case for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, how many running backs have over 100 catches, especially in the PPR league?
It's not often. I think LT was the last one. I don't want to do research, but I'm going to.
Fantasy legends.
Yeah, exactly.
So you
So
can justify any of those 4 players.
I agree. Actually, there's a lot of people justifying, or at least attempting to justify, and this again, David Johnson's another one kind of.
I'm off. I'm one of those few. I'm
off him
not
myself,
on
but-
I wouldn't touch David Johnson. David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell to me are kind of in the same mix.
Really, Le'Veon, I wouldn't draft him top 4,
I
but
wouldn't draft David Johnson in the first round, personally,
ooh,
because to me, he crushed it. I mean, you were talking 2 years where he's underachieved.
okay.
Everybody, this isn't 1 year off of the 20 touchdown season. This is he was hurt, missed the entire year, crushed your fantasy team. Then last year, if you took him top 3, top 4, he had a few good games at the end of the year, but I mean, he didn't. I don't even think he rushed for 1,000 yards. If I had to look at him, I think it was 900 and something.
Okay.
But to me, he underperformed again. He hasn't lived up to his ADP 2 years in a row. And we're talking about a bad team with a rookie quarterback. I just don't. To me, if he slips into the beginning of the second, I may take a chance on him.
So back end of the first, because I mean, I get what you're saying. It's like a 10-team league. You've got the 10th and 11th. I mean, that's a spot where you maybe.
I would look for him, but I will never get David Johnson because in 99.9% of leagues, he just doesn't slip that far. He's going anywhere from 4 to 8 in most leagues.
Right.
I'm not on the David Johnson train at all.
I gotta feel like he's almost, especially if you get him in the second round, he's almost a sleeper at that spot. I know second round sleeper sounds ridiculous, but I'm a little higher on him than you are. It sounds like, but
Like I said, I'm in the minority.
no. I mean, I don't think it's a 70-30. I think it might be like a 55-45 kind of thing. I don't think you're way off base, and I don't think it just feels like Cliff Kingsbury's offense is tailored to him catching passes, which may be a good thing. I don't know. PPR, he may have value as your second running back, especially if I get into a league where everybody thinks like John, I might be able to snag him, back into the second round. So, but you're higher on Chubb and Connor in the spot.
Yes.
But yeah, but back to obvious first consensus. I don't disagree with Alvin Kamara, but I believe that because of Saquon Barkley's abilities, and even if they are down in games, even they were down in games theoretically all year last year, and the guy
catches a lot of passes,
he
too.
catches passes. That's where he's huge, especially obviously in PPR. But that's where he's huge to me, and that's where I believe there's nobody behind him. Wayne Gallman, whatever. But I believe that you're talking about Saints, good team, could be up 3-4 touchdowns. That's where I believe the Tay Murray handcuff kind of comes into play with Alvin Kamara. Because why do you want to risk being up 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, early in the first half? Why do you want to risk losing Kamara for games you're probably going to need him? Not saying that if I got the second pick and Barkley's gone, then taking him, I'm taking Kamara. I mean, that's not the question. It's consensus number 1 pick right there. I will respectfully disagree because I believe Kamara is a beast. I will be on the Saquon. I don't have any first pick, so it doesn't really matter. But
Me either.
the highest I've
I don't
been.
think there's any. You can't go wrong. I mean, I love Saquon Barkley.
Sure.
I do.
I mean, you can't go wrong with McCaffrey. I don't think I would take him first. I don't think with Kamara and Barkley, there's a lot of people that would take Christian McCaffrey first, unless Cam Newton is injured at some point in the year. I think then he becomes a lot more valuable in that spot. Speaking of Cam Newton, let's switch gears. Obviously, we'll come back to running backs. We got a lot to talk about. QB1, this is another a situation where everybody's kind of different. We talked about obvious first pick. We came up with 2 different guys. QB1, when you take him, is another big talking point. I'm a guy who waits. Some people, I think if you're not getting Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, I think you can afford to get tier 1B production. I'm getting decent guys in 10th rounds, 11th rounds. So, my question here is for you to give advice here. Your QB1, where do you? You've been playing. It sounds like you've been playing 30 years of fantasy football. You've had to have developed some sort of
System.
template for the way you draft.
I have. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to have Mahomes in 3 of my leagues last year, and I got him late.
Yeah.
I wouldn't reach for him this year.
Okay.
I'm of the consensus. I don't wait.
I don't believe
until
50 touchdowns is happening this
No.
year.
But it's not even that. There's some people who literally will wait to the 11th, 12th, 13th round, even take a quarterback with their last pick and stuff their roster. I don't go that far. I'm more in that 6 to 9, ninth round range, where I've been getting guys like Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, and I have a list of 4 or 5 quarterbacks that I really like in a tier, and I go from there. I've actually had one league where I snagged Aaron Rodgers in the 7th, so it just depends on who's drafting.
Depends on what year that is, but that's a pretty nice snag. Yeah,
I'm talking this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
getting Aaron Rodgers in the 7th, yeah, there's a no-brainer there. Absolutely.
So it all depends. I mean,
hope.
I've seen Patrick Mahomes, and also depends on your scoring system.
Well,
If
yeah,
you're
of
going-
course, yeah. I mean,
If you're going, 6-point touchdown.
are you a 4-point
bonus,
guy or a 6-point guy?
I'm a 6-point guy.
Yeah, so then quarterback's obviously far more valuable in that
Yes.
spot. Yeah, absolutely. Then I think in a 6-point touchdown league, quarterbacks do have to go higher, or at least you do have to make a concerted effort to go Pat Mahomes or Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers in that spot. It all depends. I've seen a lot of leagues where 6-point touchdowns people don't adapt. So
Yes.
I've seen a lot of leagues where 6-point touchdowns and the first round is quarterbacks. I mean, it's a crazy system. It all. And you can preface this by saying it all depends on who you draft with. Because I knew a guy one time, he was a Packer fan, and the guy had like 7 Packers. He had like Richard Rodgers as a
There's a lot of people who draft
TE1. Yeah, so I mean,
A lot. I mean, even Tony and I are actually in a league together.
Yeah.
And Mahomes went
thanks for the
in-
invite, by the way. Yeah, appreciate you.
Mahomes went in the first round, if I remember correctly.
He
right?
did right after I checked. He was on 9th or 10th or something, I think. Yeah.
I can start to believe that if you believe him over some wide receivers, because that's wide receiver area right there. But sure, no, I mean I understand that.
But like I said, for me, I'm in that 6th to 9th round. That's
Yeah.
where I try to target my quarterbacks because I want to get, like you said, that 1B. If you want to say tier 2, but I say, like you said, tier 1, tier 1B.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be in that range. You're going to get because even look last year, Andrew Luck wasn't that far off of Patrick. Patrick Mahomes was in another stratosphere.
Cool.
But if you look at total points, Andrew Luck was right there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Like I said, and you're getting him. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a down year. Carson
Well,
Wentz,
yeah.
but it depends on who you like. I know people that level Baker Mayfield, and I'm seeing them go as early as the 3rd round. People love Carson Wentz. It all depends on your preference.
Yeah, my guy last year, and Tony will attest to this. My guy is Russell Wilson.
Oh God. Oh
He
jeez.
says I just throw up love on Russell Wilson.
Just an absolute swallowing fest over there. It's
Listen to this
nasty.
fucking guy. I'm a Russell Wilson ball washer.
bad.
I remember I targeted Mahomes last year. I got him right before you did. And
Yes, you did.
I
I was actually, and I'll be the first to admit, I was completely wrong. I actually thought Mahomes would not pan out. Now, not pan out. I didn't think he'd pan out to like a 30 touchdown guy. I mean, he fucking far exceeded that.
I mean,
So,
it's that Andy Reid system. There's something about him and running backs and quarterbacks.
and the fact that he
and tight
has
ends.
to because his defense gives up 40 points a game. If you're gonna win ball games, you almost have to put up 50 touchdowns a year in that because they didn't really get much better, in my opinion, on the defensive side of the football this year. Yeah. So, all right, well, Tony, I was a Tony Romo guy. So he kind of developed my template for a long time because I would, in the early stages of playing fantasy football, I would, hey, look, if this guy's here when I like him, I may overreach, but I'm going to take him. I had Ben Roethlisberger for a lot of years.
Yeah, those good guys.
But when Tony Romo came along, I could always find him in 7 through 9. And the guy put up stats
good.
of a tier 1A, and it
Yeah,
was
he was.
plenty for me. I mean, as long as interceptions didn't penalize you too much, maybe a point, Tony Romo was a considerably advantageous quarterback to a lot of people because of the hate for Tony Romo and the Cowboys. People would just skip him because there's a lot of people who won't draft guys because they can't root for that team. So Tony, your QB1 strategy.
Yeah, I vary depending upon. I think a lot goes into, for me, evaluating the league, especially if I know a lot of the people in the league, where they're from, who they like, things like that. That goes a long way into where I'm at. And then, of course, I know we've talked about this, and it's hard to beat a dead horse, but certainly the scoring system
We're gonna try.
it's just enormous. I mean, there's just nothing more to say about that. So, I mean, there's some leagues that are really designed for quarterbacks. I mean, I will go after one. Otherwise, I will wait. even past the 6 to 9 realm, I'm okay, especially if I think there are 2 or 3 guys that are very much.
Philip Rivers has always been one of those guys too that falls.
Yeah, if there's guys that fall a long way, then I think that'll be right on par with everybody else. I mean, I'm totally in for. So usually I have kind of a tiered system as well, and then this year was one of the examples of I should say the last 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years. I've tried to hit a home run here and there. I think there's been some players. We've talked about Mahomes, Deshaun Watson a couple of years ago. I thought was a home run that made some sense. Where guys that are not necessarily the classic type of quarterback. I know your boy Russell Wilson is not a classic type of quarterback that we would think about. But those guys usually either they pan out incredibly well, or they are terrible. Like they fall apart and they just can't play, which is fine. I'm okay with that. And I'm willing to risk a big, a pick because Pat Mahomes can win you a league. He won you a league, last year if you had him, for the most part, or at least you were very close.
And especially, which scares me if I'm going to get waiting too long and get stuck with maybe a Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. That's what scares me.
Yeah,
because you said
Tony loves Kyler Murray.
Those two guys are exactly who I was looking for.
Kyler Murray.
I love Kyler Murray because we don't have any idea what this offense is necessarily going to look like, and Kyler Murray
QB1 for Tony Johnson.
He's so athletic and can do so much, and he's faster than nearly everybody on the field. That I'm just going to take a shot. I mean, could he literally keel? Could he keel over and die in the second week? Can he see anything? No, I don't think he can. I'm not really sure. All I know is the guy came in last year and he just dominated at that level. And to me, in this type of offensive system, no, I know that, but I mean, it's just. What are we supposed to do? Like, they didn't play much defense when Mahomes was at Texas Tech. So.
I think if you, and by all means, if I'm in a league with you, I'd love for you to take Kyler Murray. But my Russell Wilson ball washing, he's a hybrid. I mean, he's Kyler Murray mixed with maybe not Aaron Rodgers, but mixed with probably an Andrew Luck or a Carson Wentz.
But the ceiling, we know the ceiling. We know the absolute ceiling on Russell Wilson. We know we're getting there. He's not going to exceed expectations. That team is down this year.
Well, Kyler Murray is definitely not, at least in year 1.
Maybe. We don't know. Maybe. I have no.
Kyler Murray does not have 35 total touchdowns this year.
He might have 70 rushing yards a game.
Fair, but
we don't know.
Don't you feel like Baker Mayfield's a better target?
Kingsbury system, I can see the argument. I don't believe in it.
Okay.
I can't see Arizona going from literally almost the worst offensive team in the league to the first with a rookie quarterback, a running back that's underachieved, and a coach that's bringing. I want to say a gimmick system, but trying something.
An injury-prone running back and a 37-million-year-old receiver.
Yes.
And they just brought in a 36-million-year-old receiver in Michael Crabtree.
Exactly. And like I said, maybe I could be wrong.
This is purely opinion. That's the beautiful thing about fantasy football.
I mean,
you could be right.
Kyler Murray could come in and do what Deshaun Watson did.
But then if you're targeting Kyler Murray in a spot like this, I feel like Lamar Jackson's got a little more experience. The same quarterback almost.
Yeah, no, I like Lamar Jackson
Kyler Murray's a much better passer, I think.
I agree, but I also know that Lamar Jackson has had another year of development.
That is true.
So I'm not high on either of them, but if I had to 6-1, I would go with Lamar Jackson simply because of
Lamar Jackson, a proven NFL coach.
Yes.
A good offensive line.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that's true. A running game.
Yes.
A defense.
Yeah, I like Mark Ingram this year too.
I mean, he's set up for success.
Agreed.
Better than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, like you said,
and one of the best kickers in the game too. That's huge.
I'm not a Kyler Murray guy, but I can see because some people love him, especially in fantasy. Well, I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot.
Oh, the team's a dumpster fire completely.
So a lot of garbage points.
Yes,
I can see,
and that's surprising to think about. The only reason I mean they have dumpster fire traits is because of the fact that they're in the division that they're in. But I mean, it's like. Yeah. As much as I make fun of Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson, I mean, they're quality NFL players. Yeah. Christian Kirk's an up-and-coming receiver. Michael Crabtree can catch touchdowns. The defense isn't terrible. I mean, I thought Steve Wilkes did a great job last year. Again, off topic, should not have been fired, but
he could help.
Terrell Suggs can help, absolutely. You got Chandler Jones is a beast on the other side. I mean,
and he gets his brother to beat up people that he can't tackle.
And they go do cocaine together. But see, to me, like I'm looking at here Fantasy Pros, and Kyler Murray is number 12 ahead of Roethlisberger, Rivers. No. Let's see, Kirk Cousins. Look,
I got
ceiling,
Kirk Cousins as my backup.
Big ceiling.
But people don't realize Kirk Cousins had a sneaky productive.
He did. I had him last year, and I'm like, he was fine.
Very productive.
Yeah, he was fine. I mean, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but again, you can't barometer. Patrick Mahomes is an outlier. I mean, I feel like the barometer last year was Matt Ryan. I mean, he had
He had a good year.
25 to 30 touchdowns. I believe he had 4,000. Huh?
He had 35.
He had 35? Okay, so he had 4,000 plus yards. I thought, as a barometer, especially for a team that was not great last year. I mean, I thought he was a barometer.
And he has weapons.
Yeah, especially. Oh, jeez. Especially with
Ridley.
coming back.
Devontae Freeman.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the name. And it's standing right there in front of me. But
For how long? I mean, I give him 3 weeks.
God, I hope not, because
Just me
he's a target for me. Even though you and I are in a draft together here in a week, but he's a guy I'm looking hopefully to slide down. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah.
Maybe third or fourth round guy. So, anyways,
He's not quite in the David Johnson realm for me, but I'm not a believer in Devontae Freeman. That's just me personally. I know he has no
I feel like if he stays healthy, yeah, you're right. He's got no. Tevin Coleman's gone.
competition. I mean, I wouldn't pass on him if there was a chance where he's a steal here. But
I gotta think third or fourth round. I think he's a steal just based on the mock drafts I'm doing.
I mean, I'd take Aaron Jones over Devontae Freeman.
Agreed, but Aaron Jones in the mocks I've been seeing and the one draft I've done has been going late second, early third.
Which is weird because I got him in the fourth in our draft.
I'm playing your league, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know how
There were some weird picks in the league.
There
we were
was
in.
some
Yeah,
very
there were
weird
some
Again,
lots
that's the
of
thing.
choices.
Adapting to, like I said, there was one year where the guy drafted all Packers. I mean, Packers defense went in the fourth round. I mean, they weren't even a good defense.
A lot of guys I know, it's in our league, I'm in Philadelphia, they're Eagles fans. They won't draft a Cowboy.
Yeah.
They just won't do it. And I have no problem. I'll take Zeke Elliott if he's there.
Speaking of, let's just talk about a couple of those things. Moving back into running backs. Contracts. There's two guys right now that are literally threatening to miss regular season games. And, from my sports view standpoint, fine. You know what? Do what you got to do. Capitalism, you're worth what you're worth. If you feel like this is the case, we saw Le'Veon Bell set a huge precedent last year. But fantasy draft-wise, I got to know,
Yeah.
What do you do with – well, first of all, what do you do with Melvin Gordon? Because I think Ezekiel Elliott's a no-brainer. Once he signs, he's a top 5 pick in fantasy football.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon back into the first. What do we do here
I'm
with
seeing him go third, fourth. I'm seeing him going third, fourth. Me personally, fourth on. Because, legitimately, the way his
huge,
contract is set up, he could sit out half the year and then come back.
Mm-hmm. And then that's huge.
Yeah. And to me, then you're putting him in that, well, not in the same exact situation, but he's in that Kareem Hunt discussion because he's coming back week 10.
I know we'll get there.
But I'm just saying, but it's different because when he does come back, he is the incumbent starter.
Who?
Melvin.
Melvin. Oh, okay, I talking about
Question.
Kareem Hunt. But we also have a hard date for Kareem Hunt.
We do.
And I think it's week 9 actually. I think
They're on a bye.
Oh, so it's week 10 with
He's
a
suspended 8 weeks. They're on a bye week.
on a
9.
bye. So week 10. Okay, got it. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm personally off of Melvin. I've already said this. I'm personally off of Melvin Gordon, which I'm giving you my strategy because you're going to. At this point, I'm not getting Melvin Gordon in our league. I'm off Melvin Gordon until round 7. If he's there, at that point, I'm running
He's
back.
not a target for me. That's if he's there, I'll start thinking about
Right.
it.
So, but the thing is between you and I already know I'm not getting him in our league because you've already said round 4. So if he's there round 4,
Somebody will take him before then.
it's hard to say. Okay, well let's talk Zeke. I mean, what do you do now if you got if you got picks 3 through 5? I mean, what do you do? What do you do?
I'm avoiding Zeke's not even on my radar. So if he was somehow there,
Guys
maybe
guys
late
led
in
the league in
second
rushing,
round,
especially in
maybe.
a standard league. The guys led the league in rushing 2 out of 3 years, and the other year he was leading the league when he got suspended. I mean,
See, I'm having
it's huge.
Our draft is coming up. I pick 4th.
I'm aware.
I'm going to have that dilemma.
Yeah, you are. And I have the dilemma
Unless
of
someone,
if you leave him and take somebody that yeah, I mean,
I'm hoping he signs by then. So I don't have that dilemma, but if I do, I'm of the feeling I don't think he misses any time.
I
don't
also
think the
agree with
Cowboys-
you. Yeah.
I don't think the Cowboys let that happen. They're actually
And there's a
they
deal.
actually
There's a deal on the
believe-
table that if it's true, how do you take? How do you not take this? I mean, yes, I believe you are the best running back or one of the best running backs, but I mean, God, you're making just slightly less than Gurley money. Calm down. I mean, just you don't have a lot of years left. You don't really want to waste them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I don't think they actually Cowboys believe they're contenders, and you cannot go into a season without your best player if you're pushing to your fan base that you're a contender this year. We're striving for the Super Bowl. This is what we want to do. You can't come out on the field without Ezekiel Elliott.
wow, you don't believe they're contenders?
Me personally,
No, I mean, is that biased? Because I'm high on the
I'm-
Cowboys this year.
I'm
I'm like
they'll
12-4 high
I
on the
think they'll
Cowboys.
be a playoff team.
If they're all in camp. I mean, if they're all in the game.
I
like Dak, though.
I don't think they win the division. I mean, we're talking about a division that hasn't had a back-to-back winner in over 10 years.
Okay.
It just doesn't happen. And the NFC East, to me, is a two-horse race. The Giants are irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Washington's
Washington,
not. Yeah. Theoretically.
So,
But, I mean, look what they did patchwork last year. They were, 7-9. Case Keenum, no, I agree with you. He's probably not, but it's the NFL.
He's a good coach.
The NFL is a fickle bitch.
It is. I mean, I think the Cowboys are a playoff team. I think they end up around 10-6, 11-5. Jason Garrett in the playoffs.
But that's contending.
To me,
not contending is like I'm going to try to go for
I
it.
believe
3
that
and
they're a
13.
playoff team. I just don't think that they are
Legit
Super Bowl
contend.
contenders.
I also agree with you on that. Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to figure out the barometer of where you were at. Yeah, contending to me is making the playoffs. Super Bowl contention. There's probably 6 teams, but I don't find them to be one of them in that spot. Yeah, no, it's okay. So what do we do here? What do we do with Alfred? What do we do with Alfred Morris? What do we do with Austin Eckler? Do they become higher?
I think Austin Eckler he already has his niche carved out.
Yeah.
I think he's the third down back. He has value in PPR. If you're talking about an every down back, I just think if Melvin Gordon's out till week 6, 7, 8, whatever, I think Justin Jackson gets 15 to 17 carries. Eckler gets about 10 and gets a lot of work in the passing game. So I think they both have value. I don't think Austin Eckler jumps into that on the starting running back role.
Okay.
I don't think they set it up that way. He's not going to get a Melvin Gordon type of workload. He's just not that type of running back. And for the Cowboys, I mean, Alfred Morris, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. I'm more on Pollard. I think he'll actually have some value.
Okay.
And if you get Zeke, to me, you have to get him as a handcuff. I don't care if you have to reach in 13, 12. You can't go, if you grab Zeke 4, 5, 6, 7, and he is your first round pick, you have to grab Pollard. That's just my analysis of it right now.
No, I 100% agree because you're right. Because the thought process is the two guys that I was even looking at are probably not even relevant. So I mean, there's other guys. That's the thing is, what's going on through coach's mind? Because I don't disagree with you with Eckler, but maybe he's earned the right to at least see about every day back or every down back.
Well, if you look at how it happened last year, they tried that for the first game and a half, two games, and it just didn't work. He actually had less production when Melvin Gordon went down those first 2 games than he had when he was in the lineup.
Okay.
And then Justin Jackson started seeing more work, and he was the guy that was getting, 14.
It's all about carries
a game,
yeah.
getting the goal line carries. I mean, Eckler was still getting 5 or 6 targets a game, 10 to 12 carries. That's, not that we can do it, but that's where he lives. That's his. If I'm going to go Happy Gilmore, that's his home. That's where he belongs. Is 10 to 12 carries, 6 to 7 targets, may get you in the end zone, great in open space. Justin Jackson is more of that, give him the ball 15 times a game if you're trying to fill that Melvin Gordon void.
But see, that's the question you just brought up is, in the situation, I'm all about who's going to get the bulk or the more so than the home run potential. I mean, you just gave me 10 carries and 7 targets. You just gave me 17 attempts versus 15. I mean, that's where it becomes that's where it becomes weird to me. It's who do you grab in that spot? If you're.
But then you also who gets the goal line carries.
Also true. Yeah. Also, I think Phillip Rivers gets the goal line.
Has he ever had a rushing touchdown?
I don't want to do the research, so I'm just going to say no. But yeah, I mean that's the question. So okay, so if you're targeting Melvin Gordon, you're 4th or 5th round. I'm like 7th and 8th. If I happen to find Melvin Gordon in a league at 7th or 8th round, I mean, do I even worry about a handcuff?
He won't be there.
No, because I would take Justin Jackson late because he's going really late or undrafted for some reason.
I feel like by the 7th or 8th round, that's my 3rd or 4th running back.
Yes, but he could be your RB1 if everything works out.
Sure,
And it could be.
I mean that's a sleeper. Yeah, that's.
And if it completely flames out and you get Justin Jackson in the 14th, you still get production. I think he'll put up RB3 type numbers.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's look at a thing that I found interesting, in my opinion, and I don't think I've ever really done it on purpose, but it's something that a lot of people are doing, obviously for sheer volume, is the stack.
Ooh, yeah.
First of all, thoughts on the stack, and then we'll go over some stacks. QB running back or QB wide receiver. First of all, thoughts on the stacks, and then we'll go over a few stacks that you either thumbs up or thumbs down on.
We're talking about correlating your
Correct. You know, if you got Patrick Mahomes, you're targeting and Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce, et cetera. If you've got Aaron Rodgers, you're targeting Aaron Jones and things like that.
Devontae Franklin.
Yeah, so I think the positive negatives here.
Devontae Adams. Yeah. I was like, wait a second. I'm like, did I miss something just happened? You checking your phone? You got Adam Schefter type information?
I think the positive negatives here are a lot on payout structure for your league, assuming if you are playing for money. In a league where it's extremely top heavy, or if you have maybe like a big regular season payout or something along those lines, maybe a lot of side bets with certain type of players or something like
Degenerates.
that. Then I think that it makes a lot of sense because it really is just increasing or decreasing variance. That's all this is. So in theory, you should be trying to find the best value pretty much at any spot. At least that's the way I see this. But
when you pick, sure.
Yeah, when you pick. But if you are going to be stacking, I know that's a new buzzword in this thing, is that basically you're just increasing or decreasing variance depending upon what you want to do. Obviously, you're going to have, if you have 3 guys on one team, they're all going to be on the bye in the same week, and they're all going to play.
That's a huge one.
Yeah, exactly. They're all going to play that tough, Baltimore defense on the road when it's pouring down rain in October too, and that's going to suck. So I mean, there are times there, and of course there's the good times as well.
Schedule might matter.
Schedule matters a lot, and I think payout structure matters a lot. It's probably something that isn't really looked at if you're in a league, of those things. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about here. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't see it as positive or negative, one way or the other, if it makes sense. In the one league I drafted with John, I was going to take Aaron Rodgers after having taken Devontae Adams in the first round. He just got sniped a couple of picks before me, but I was going to do that. And again, it wasn't necessarily the reasoning for that. I just thought Rodgers were going to get some value there. And then, that combination, I was going to live and die by that combination here and there, but that's okay because I think that combination is unbelievably incredible. In fact, it's the best one, in my opinion, in the NFL for fantasy purposes. So,
sure, I understand.
So that's where I'm at. Nothing exactly yay or nay. Probably depends on your league and your situation.
I'm more of, when I first got into fantasy football, I used to love the stack. I mean, I remember Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss. Yeah. I mean, I remember those wanting to, seeking that out. But now, over the years, like I said, I'm more on Tony. It's about value. I'm not looking, if I happen to get Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton, or if it looks out where I get Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, I'm all over it. But it's not something I'm seeking out. I'm not going to pass up, say for instance, a Aaron Jones or David Montgomery slips to the 5th or 6th round. I'm not going to take a QB and pass up that type of player just to create a stack.
Okay.
So I'm for it. If people do it, I mean, it benefits you, especially in big leagues.
It has benefits and drawbacks, especially like you said, you're playing a tough defense. You got 3-4 guys running on the same situation, or that game tends to go under, and your stats reflect that. I'm more of the I'm low on quarterback, wide receiver, but I'm higher on quarterback, running back, like a Baker and Chubb kind of stack. Whereas I know as long as Baker's in the game, not hurt, and as long as Nick Chubb's in the game, not hurt, I'm generally 80% getting whatever touchdown comes.
Maybe more.
Yeah, no, I mean when Kareem Hunt comes back, that might create a situation, but. Again, okay, so that's the thing. Like Baker and Chubb, you got a A-Rod and Aaron Jones kind of thing going on. I find I tend to be higher on the quarterback running back stack just the more I think about it, just because simply that reason. Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara kind of thing.
Yes.
I find that, 80% plus, I'm getting those touchdowns. And I want to find it for high-scoring offenses. I don't want I don't want Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram on my team.
For instance, one of the guys in the league, Tony and I, right? He has the Cam Newton,
Christian McCaffrey
stat.
Also good. Yes, that's another good one. They're an interesting team this year. The dynamics, and then obviously Cam just got hurt. I don't know if there's an extent to that injury. But the ones I would obviously stay away from, sorry, Tony, is the Kyler Murray, David Johnson stack.
I mean, that could be.
It could be, but again, you're purely looking at a projection, which is a guess, and versus. And again, I'm not as high on Baker Mayfield as a lot of people are. I think a lot of people like him simply because of the weapons that he has. But I think, the year 2, the film, this is sophomore season for Baker. And he's done a lot more off-field things that may lead to distractions, but that's a whole different story. I'm not as high. Not saying it.
Roethlisberger-esque without the bathroom.
Sure, yeah, that's fair. Actually, I am surprised that Roethlisberger's gotten a little gossipy in his old age. I mean, it's. I used to consider him a more high quality. I mean, on field, I used to consider him a more high quality leader, but now he's getting a little rat-a-tat with the Antonios and the Le'Veons. But again, we'll stick to fantasy here. But even Ben Roethlisberger and Juju, is that a combination that you would be interested in? James Conner. Yeah, I mean, I've never. I can't say I heard of it. Obviously, I've heard of it, but I've never really considered stacks until this year. And I'm not even sure I'm still going to do it. But I mean, I think that in the right spots, and that's a good thing. And I appreciate the education in the right spots. Should I not be? I shouldn't reach for a guy just because I'm trying to double up. Especially, God forbid, you're finding yourself with a quarterback in rounds 8 and 9 that you like. You're not going to jump up to 5 and miss out on a guy that Montgomery, et cetera, that you may have targeted for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, or you didn't think was going to be available in that position.
Sure, or Melvin Gordon. God forbid Melvin Gordon's there.
He's there, and you're like, oh, but I've already put down, Mayfield on my
board because I just drafted Odell in round 1. Yeah. Yeah, so I find myself more higher on the QB running back stack than the QB wide receiver stack or even QB tight end in that spot. So let's talk about guys. We were talking about slips. The guys who I believe are going to slip. The question is where do you personally, standard or PPR or otherwise, kind of have these guys in a position? And the first one obviously is Le'Veon Bell.
Do you want to?
Whoever.
Go
ahead.
Matter. Start it out, John.
I wouldn't target Le'Veon Bell to the mid-second.
Okay.
If he's there in that 15, 16, because I would actually go Chubb, Connor over Bell.
I think I would even go Mixon. Yeah.
See, I'm one of you. I like Mixon. And I was telling Tony, I'm of a rare breed. I'm low on David Johnson. I'm high on Leonard Fournette. Don't ask me why. It's just a personal feeling.
I don't think you're terribly off base on that.
Just a personal feeling.
Besides with Fournette. No. Just joking.
I think Fournette's got as a head case a little bit, so that could cause problems.
That very well could cause problems. I put Le'Veon Bell right after those guys. Late first, late second, coming back
to the third.
I wouldn't take him with my first round pick. It's not even because I don't believe in him as a player. I think he's extremely talented. I think he has a chip on his shoulder. I think he has a lot to prove. I don't buy the Jets offense.
I'm in your same camp there, but especially if you can get him late second round, early third. I think he's huge as an RB2 because if he pans out better than you're predicting, I mean, you got 2 RB1s in that
exactly.
Spot. So
if you get him in that situation, he could be a league winner. It just depends.
Also true. I had 1 year where I had LaShawn McCoy and Ray Rice. The 1 year they balled out. That won my league. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm in a different camp. I'm in the late first, early second, if we had to put some sort of grade there. And I'm ahead of the 2 guys. You guys mentioned Chubb and somebody else.
Mixon.
Chubb, Mixon.
Connor.
Yeah, definitely Connor. So a few reasons. First of all, Bell was the best running back in the game, in my opinion, a couple of years ago, and before that. So there's that. And I actually like the fact that he sat out last year for purposes this year.
And took a bad deal. Go ahead.
Yo, absolutely. No, again, I don't give a shit about anything.
Yeah, no,
what's
I know.
going on. I'm just saying,
I just
like,
had to,
right now,
I had to jab it
evaluating.
because I know
Yeah.
in case Le'Veon Bell is listening to this podcast.
Yeah, he had a
he's gonna
bigger
get
deal
his.
on the table at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's gonna get
an idiot.
his. Yeah.
So yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I have no qualms about his decision making, but I like the fact that he's had a year off. I think
Okay.
it's probably going to end up being a good thing overall. The fact that it's just one less year of being a running back in the NFL is huge. I am not a fan of the Jets' offense. I agree with you guys. I think it's just kind of, not a great spot per se, but he is an incredibly good back, and with a much better offensive line than they have last year, they should be almost near the top 10. They've got some quality players. I think that that Bell will be quite good. So again, you're going to have some issues. He's going to talk. He's going to be, an annoyance at times. But I think there's just not a lot of people that are better than him. So I like that
They have
spot
a tough
there.
schedule in the beginning.
They do. Yeah, the schedule's not easy. It's not easy, and the division that they're in, the defenses are pretty good. Maybe besides Miami.
Agreed. Yeah.
But yeah, Buffalo is
Buffalo's a super
fantastic. Yeah, they're fantastic, and New England's got a better defense than I think normal as well. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of a tough division in that sense. But I'm a fan of Le'Veon there, and then just more of an anti against some of those other guys you mentioned. Like I don't really have much of a grade on James Conner. I think that was a year that's probably the best year we'll see from Conner, in my opinion, throughout his career. I just don't think he's an every down NFL caliber back. I think we'll have a massive regression here. I think Jalen Samuels will be much more involved in that offense as the year presses on. Again, he's not going to be an every down back, not even close, Samuels, but he's a guy that's just going to steal a lot of high quality opportunities. And then just the unknown with Nick Chubb. I don't know. I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer in Cleveland. So
I'm not either, but I think
Yeah.
the offense is going to be prolific.
I do as well.
I'm not a believer.
Maybe.
I've already got
Maybe.
a couple bets in that they got 9 wins or less this year. So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
already exceed that.
I
do.
Huh?
I think they exceed 9 wins.
A lot of people do. I mean, I'm not saying I'm.
I don't
I'm.
think they're at 12 to 14, but I think they can squeeze in that 10-6, 9-7 range.
We shall see. I will take, and I will definitely feel a lot better if a lot of people think 10-6 because ball bounces weird ways. So I'll feel good on under 9. Another guy, Nick Chubb. That's actually a surprising. Again, I cut you off. That's a surprising thought process on. You're not really high on him, especially. I mean, you're a go against the grain guy. Don't get me wrong. I know that's the
Very
case.
much so. Yeah.
But take your Eagles hat off here, Mr. Johnny D. And Jordan Howard is a guy obviously going to slip.
Yes.
I think I drafted him 3rd round last year.
Yes. From everything I'm seeing and my personal feeling, I think Miles Sanders takes that job by week 3,
Okay.
maybe week 4.
Are you worried about Peterson being a committee guy though? He has the last couple of seasons.
I mean,
He
Jordan
might not
Howard's
be. He
also-
might try to force
Jordan Howard's
Jordan.
going to get work. Don't get me wrong. And I think by the end of by week 3 or 4, they'll filter into a specific rotation. I think they're going to start off. They're going to give Jordan Howard every opportunity to hold on to the first and second
agree.
down.
Yeah, I think they're gonna-
I think they're going to rotate Sanders and people talking about.
Smallwood? Not
No.
Smallwood, no.
Sproles. Sproles
Sproles.
is 87 years
Oh,
old.
yeah, I know.
He'll blow out a tendon before he's going to be irrelevant this year. If you're thinking Darren Sproles, don't.
I can't imagine anyone's thinking Darren Sproles unless you're in like a 20-team league.
But I just mean in the fact of him actually taking.
And I've played
work
one of
away-
those. Those are tough.
Yeah, just him taking work away from anyone.
Yeah, sure.
I just think the cream's going to rise to the top, and Miles Sanders is going to be.
A lot
I don't
of
think
people
he's
like
ever going to be a
Miles
20. They said Doug Peterson likes to share the ball, so I don't think he's going to be a 20 to 25 carry guy.
And
But I can see Miles Sanders being that 15 to 18 carry guy, 5 or 6 receptions. He's actually a much better receiver out of the backfield than Jordan Howard.
And that creates a scary problem in your drafts is because Miles Sanders is actually going relatively high.
Yeah, six.
And Jordan Howard is still going 6 or 7. So you
But,
would
I mean,
almost
I
have to
think
waste 2
Jordan Howard
picks
could
if you're.
benefit you, and
or waste a pick.
What I fear for some people, he gets in that role and he has his first 2 or 3 games. He does actually really well.
He has like 6-week stretches where he's a beast. I mean, he justifies your pick.
But then I see
Then he
Miles
has 5-week
Sanders-
stretches where he doesn't.
Actually, it's almost a good segue because I see Miles Sanders actually being like a Nick Chubb of this year,
Okay.
where Jordan Howard is that Carlos Hyde. He's going to get work. He's going to be semi-productive. He's not explosive. He's not going to have those weeks where he gets you an 80-yard touchdown and has 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's just not going to do it. He's going to be that 60 to 80 yards, get you to a 2-yard touchdown. He's going to be very consistent. That's where.
And for me, I mean, that's my kind of line when I'm drafting. I want 80 and a touch out of my running backs and receivers. That's my goal. Obviously, it doesn't happen every week.
But I think Miles Sanders has that potential to have those Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara weeks where he has 15 carries for $110 and 3 touchdowns. Like he has that ability.
Okay.
Jordan Howard to me doesn't have that.
Incapable.
Ability.
He can't play. Yeah, he was awful last year.
You're a Bears guy, so.
Well, he's bad. I mean, he had a great rookie season. Then
I agree.
Yeah.
When he ran, I forget the running back. He was the one who ran. Was it Matt Forte out of town? I think.
Well, they had.
I think great rookie year.
Yeah, he had a really good rookie
year. I agree.
Year.
That's what I'm saying. He had a great rookie year. I mean, not saying
Forte.
Forte.
Don't realize Jordan Howard's only 24.
Yeah,
really.
He's not old.
Yeah.
So it seems like he plays older than he is.
But that's the thing. Do you draft both these guys and plug them?
Sanders.
Plug them.
Unless Jordan Howard's there in the 10th round. I'm not going Jordan Howard. I mean,
anybody finding him in the 10th round?
Miles Sanders could get hurt, and Jordan Howard could get the bulk of the work.
Yeah, no, that's where it makes it tough. It might just be a stay away for both.
I don't think. I mean, Corey Clement's a handcuff. He'll be on the roster.
But Miles Sanders is still going 6th, 7th round. I mean, even higher. Sanders. Yeah, no, I know that's a tough spot because it's almost like you don't want to guess wrong here, and you don't want to waste a pick by trying to draft both of them. So
I mean, the Eagles' offense, Doug Peterson does like to spread. He wants to spread the ball around. That's why the reason I'm not as high on Zach Ertz as a lot of people are, because I don't think
tight ends are so premium. It's they're going to be overvalued almost in a sense. The three,
the same thing.
The top three.
I like Alshon Jeffrey as a fan.
I mean, Fantasy Pros has O.J. Howard number 4. I think that's ridiculous, but tight ends are so premium.
If I want to own any piece of that Eagles offense,
Alshon.
To me, no.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going Carson Wentz, Miles Sanders. That's who I want a piece of.
Okay.
I just think they spread the ball around so much. Zach Ertz is going to get his. Dallas Goedert is going to see a tick up. Him and Wentz have a great relationship. He's a really good tight end. You add Deshaun Jackson into that mix. Nelson Aguilar, he's not really fantasy relevant, but he's irrelevant enough to make other players irrelevant. I mean, not making it relevant, but to hurt other players.
He's a vulture.
Exactly.
Of stats.
I mean, Alshon's going to have those weeks. Alshon Jeffrey's never. I don't think he's ever.
He's
going to
have those 4 for 37 weeks.
But he might get you points because he'll have that 4 for 40, but he'll score 2 touchdowns.
Right.
Then he'll go 3 weeks without scoring a touchdown. But he's always going to give you something, and it just teases you enough to keep him in your lineup, and it's going to frustrate the hell out of you all year.
That's fair enough. That's a good assessment. Another guy I've drafted him every year, and so far it has not panned out. And
keep doing it.
I say
keep
every
doing
year.
it.
I say, well, that's the thing. Once I stop, he's going to beast. And when I say every year, I say that's 2 years. Dalvin Cook. I mean, you already heard.
The hype train's going again.
You heard I know, and I feel like I'm slowly boarding the board. Huh?
Let Andy take him.
Andy's taking Leroy Horde. I'm telling you. But Dalvin Cook, is another one.
Yeah, I'm
with running back a premium. He's a frontline starter.
Yeah, I am very much in the camp of avoiding injury risk, and injury risk that
that's half the league
is legit. No, well, it's not really. I mean, there's specific injuries that are actually, like we've seen throughout the years, that are extremely detrimental, and there are other injuries that you can recover from and actually be completely fine. It might take you a little bit of time, but ACL tears and things like that are completely not a major issue anymore. If it's your first one or even second one, I mean, some time to recover. But there are other injuries that are like really, really detrimental. Like Philip Lindsay's injury from last year is running backs almost always don't recover from that broken bone in their hand, the specific one that holds the ball. It's just one of those deals. It's a rare one, but so to me, Dalvin has had injuries that are not ideal, of course, but they are not, to me, career-ending injuries, and they're not. I mean, he's just, the situation that he's in, to me, is so good. I mean, it's just incredibly good. I think that's the best team in the NFC North. I'm a fan of the quarterback, like I know you guys are as well. They have the best receiving tandem, I think, in the NFL, maybe besides the guys in Atlanta. And, I mean, it's just, I love the situation. So, again, if he's there, it's a late first round, early second type of thing for me with Dalvin Cook. I don't like to take risk in the first or second round. That's usually one of my deals with fantasy football, is to try to take as little risk as possible in the first and second round. But
that's fair.
Man, Dalvin is tough to pass up. I would prefer Le'Veon Bell over him, but I don't know. He's in the.
You're catching Le'Veon Bell late first when he swing back. I mean, say you take it Le'Veon with the 8th pick in a 10-team league.
These are all very close to me. Like, to me, I have Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon very much in that same realm. I like both of those
They are,
guys.
even talent-wise, they're very similar players.
Yeah,
And
Joe
they
Mixon
are.
and Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
They
agree
are.
with that. I mean, I feel like Dalvin Cook's a bigger guy.
Dalvin Cook's what? I mean, I've
Big guy, we're in
next to Joe
4.40
Mixon
though.
if you-
I'm not saying he's slow. I'm just saying
Mixon's 6'1".
he's a
210.
solid guy. So I mean, I feel like he's
I'm gonna have
more
to look that up. I
he's
think
more
they're
between the
roughly the same
tackles.
size.
Cook is faster. I think Cook is a faster. Even though he might be bigger, he's also faster. Cook is
Actually-
insane.
Wait, what did you say Joe Mixon was?
Mixon's about 6'1", 210.
He's a big
Maybe
dude.
just because Dalvin's 5'10", he looks sturdier. He's 5'10", 210. So I was incorrect as far as direct stats. He just looks like a more huskier back to me.
I've stood next to Mixon. He was bigger than I thought he was.
Yeah,
Definitely taller.
and I always thought Dalvin was the short, stocky, and I mean I was right. I didn't think he was 210. I actually thought he was maybe closer to 225 in that spot. So
I like him. I just, the injury risk is there, and
Of
I can
course.
totally see passing up for somebody else. The problem with Joe Mixon is that his team is another dumpster fire. And
but
it's
he's
just
a
little bit of
good
situation.
back out of the backfield. He's Andy Dalton's safety. He's Andy Dalton's safety net, and he's going to be whoever.
Say 220 for Mixon.
So Mixon's the bigger guy. I was completely reversed roles there. And he's also a backup quarterback's safety blanket, too. So I'm high on Joe Mixon this year, too. But Dalvin Cook's a scary one for me. If he's there in the third, I'm not letting him go, but it's hard to believe he's going to be there in the third.
Even late second, if you have that second, third pick and he comes back around to you,
It's a tough spot.
it is. That's in the range where he's in. But like I said, he just can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some running backs. There's some players in general. Will Fuller, the kid. I mean,
Yeah,
he
he's
has
bad luck.
dynamic days, but he just can't stay healthy.
Now, that's the thing. You pray there's not an ACL tear or a season ending, but do you draft a guy like Dalvin Cook expecting to not have him for 4 weeks out of your season?
It's that same situation to me. If I'm taking Zeke in the contract situation, I'm definitely taking Pollard. If I'm taking Dalvin Cook, I'm 100% finding a way to get Madison on my team. 100%.
Wait, who?
Madison is back up.
Madison? Okay. Like I said, Matt Asiata. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that guy's
From
gone.
Boise, yeah.
Okay. So this is another guy, speaking of Minnesota backups, obviously we know about Tevin Coleman, but Jerick McKinnon's just fallen. I mean, he was like supposed to be the guy in San Francisco, tore his ACL, and now they're like, meh.
He went into that.
He's not even
he went
he's not
into
even
that
getting
front
drafted.
office with a mask and a handgun and stole money.
Well,
don't
I
think he'll
don't
ever play.
disagree with that, but I mean, does he have any value? I mean, he's not even getting drafted in a lot of leagues. I think people forgot about him.
I mean,
I think you guys forgot about him.
I'm of the belief I'm not touching anyone in that backfield. I'm not touching Breida. I'm not touching Tevin Coleman. Because to me, Tevin Coleman had the golden opportunity in Atlanta last year.
I agree. I'm not high on
Nothing.
Tevin Coleman. That's what
did
makes me think of
nothing.
Jerick McKinnon, especially
McKinnon,
with the,
he's had flashes, but he's coming off a major injury. I mean, he hasn't even practiced yet.
I understand. He's probably not going to be ready for 2-3 weeks.
So, like I said, I don't want anyone in that backfield. There's certain backfields I just
Well, there you
don't want
go.
to touch. I'm not, like I said, I'm not targeting any of them. If I'm in the 15th round and Tevin Coleman's there, I might take a flyer.
That's
But
not
that'll
happening, but
never
I get what you're
happen.
saying. Yeah.
This is certain situations that,
Somehow every single player in your league is like, I'm off Tevin Coleman, and you're like, well, hello.
okay, yeah,
McKinnon.
Yeah, McKinnon's the only guy that I would consider as a total flyer towards the end because I think he has the big time ceiling. Everybody else is a plow horse essentially. Coleman again has had plenty of opportunities, had a great situation in Atlanta, has never really stepped through the door. Matt Breida again is a fine running back, but he comes from a triple option college setting where it was just he's just limited in what he can do. He was not recruited very highly because he's not all that fast and he's not that shifty, and he's a fine player, but I think there's just a very low ceiling for him. So again, I try to shoot for the stars. I'm either taking guys that I think are consistent and not have a big injury history, and I'm confident, or I just shoot for the absolute moon. And to me, McKinnon is a moonshot, very, very late if you want to take it. But just because he's already in, I know he's still injured, so yeah, that's the only thing I think. But I don't like anybody really in that
yeah.
on that team.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can completely respect that. And it's a tough spot. I mean, completely abandoning the whole backfield is a definite option at that point.
100%. Houston Texans. I want nothing to do with any part of that backfield.
I feel like I like Duke. I feel like they're going to give him a shot, but not.
More power to you.
Only in PPR. Only in PPR. Because Lamar Miller fucking sucks.
He does. He'll have that one game where he has that 80-yard run.
Which makes him a second or third round running back.
He's always on your bench. I don't think I've known any person ever who's had Lamar Jackson.
He did that
Lamar
against
Miller
Miami on a Thursday night where he ran for like 190 yards, and I just remember that, and everybody's like, he's back. And he's like, no, he's not. Calm down.
Did you start him? No.
Well, I don't know. I've never drafted him.
Nobody ever does.
Somebody does. Somebody does. Somebody drafts him.
And if you had him starting, you're probably the last team in your league.
Or you're in just dire trouble. You had Dalvin Cook, and now you're stuck. The last guy on my list here is probably the pièce de résistance as far as where the fuck does he go. Todd Gurley.
He doesn't go. He's off the radar. I have a couple of guys that are off the radar. Him and
I do too.
Lindsay, yeah. No, absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts whatsoever. I mean, if he's there in the 5th round, maybe, but that's it.
I'm taking Todd Gurley over Le'Veon Bell. I'm taking Todd Gurley. Me personally, I can't turn my back on a guy who was the number 1 running back in fantasy 2 years in a row.
He
I
was.
just can't do it.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, even if he has,
You grab Darrell Henderson. You make an effort to grab Darrell Henderson, obviously.
yeah, but
No, okay.
so
No.
Even
What
if-
I'm saying is it's the handcuffs with the Ezekiels and the
yes,
and the Melvin
but,
Gordon.
But even if you get into a situation where you have Todd Gurley playing the Alvin Kamara role, he's still going to be a top
3 or
5,
4
top
back.
7 fantasy back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm anywhere from 6 on. I'm fine with Todd Gurley. I have no problem reaching for him. I have faith. The knee, we'll see. I mean,
It's weird
he's
though.
great.
They're so secretive, and then he plays, but he
And that's
doesn't.
the one thing
He doesn't get
he's 100%
action.
healthy. They want people to think that something's wrong. They want people to worry and to try to game plan for other people. And
Yeah.
I think Todd Gurley comes out with a vengeance this year.
I'm high on him too, but that's the thing. My high is like I feel like I can sneak second round, late
In some
second,
leagues you
right,
can.
in the second round, and I've done some mock drafts where I can catch him in the third. If I can catch him in the
I'm
third,
hoping-
I would be ecstatic.
Like I have in my one league, I have picked 7. I'm hoping I can get him on the way back. But do I take that chance?
But what do you like at
Okay.
7 that you wouldn't take Gurley and pray for the way back? DeAndre
100%
Hopkins?
No, I would take Gurley over DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay.
I would take Devontae Adams over DeAndre Hopkins. I like
This
DeAndre
brings up an
Hopkins, but he's
interesting-
one of those players that I can bet you he will. If I had 10 fantasy teams, he wouldn't be on any of my teams.
DeAndre Hopkins?
And it's not because I don't like him as a
Feels too
player.
early, yeah.
I think he's a great player, but to target him in that 6 to 10 range, I'm just not doing it.
Okay.
If I'm gonna take
So
a
no matter where
flyer-
you draft, you're running back in the first.
no, I mean
With standard scoring leagues. Like standard PPR, but not like
Well, even in
exorbitant
PPR
quarterback
leagues,
numbers.
if I'm going to reach on a wide receiver in the first round, I'm going to take Adams, Thompson, or Julio before I take DeAndre
Thompson.
Hopkins.
Oh, Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas.
Okay. I'm trying to think. I'm like, is there somebody I don't know about? That happens from time to time. It's just like, there's a guy I'm like, I never even heard of
Yeah, I'm
this guy.
targeting all 3 of those guys before I target DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's steady. DeAndre Hopkins is as steady as they can get. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Certain players, he won't be he won't end up on my team because I'm not drafting him in that situation.
Okay, fair enough. We got a couple more things before we wrap it up here. We talked about Kareem Hunt earlier. Are you stashing him, or are you just kind of trying to play the waiver game?
I'm not touching him.
Not touching him at all.
Nick Chubb is as good as advertised by many of the others. I don't see where Hunt fits in all that much. You know, if this is a team that's they could possibly 7-2, maybe even 6-3. A lot of people are very high on Cleveland. You don't just bring in a guy and he all of a sudden starts taking a lot.
No, of course, but I mean, that's the thing. If you're drafting Nick Chubb, do you worry about him down your playoff stretch?
Of course, you worry, but
Worry about everything.
Well, yeah.
Do you really want to handcuff your roster?
But does that affect you drafting
The only
Nick
way I
Chubb?
might do it is if your team has an IR spot.
Yeah.
And you can stash him on
There
the
you
IR.
go. Yeah.
Can you stash a suspended guy an hour? If you're, I guess that would be up to your league.
I don't know if you can.
You'd have to look
I'm
that
just
up,
saying
yeah.
that's the only situation that
Yeah.
I would do it. I'm not with the waiver wire being as prevalent as it is,
yeah.
and everybody playing the waiver wire, and you being able to get guys that by week 2, 3, you can start seeing who's producing.
Yeah.
I'm not holding a roster spot for 10 weeks on a
For a
guy
guy
that if he comes back,
zero burger
at
every-
best he's splitting carries, which
Yeah.
I don't even think he's going to be.
I agree.
But at best, he's getting 10 carries and 4 or 5 targets. I can't waste a roster spot.
It's also the Andy
10
Reid
weeks.
system too. We've seen like guys like Brian Westbrook be like Hall of Famers, in that system. It's just nothing against Brian Westbrook, but I mean, it's just like he's not a great, back in my opinion. He's probably going
I
to be
think,
fine.
and I think like I said, I'm with Aaron. I think Nick Chubb's a stud.
Yeah,
I really do.
Oh, I agree 100%. I'm just afraid of what if the season doesn't pan out and they're 3-6? I mean,
Then you have to worry.
Then you are worrying.
you're always going to worry. Like
And if they're
you said,
3-6, then Nick Chubb hasn't probably done all that well anyway. So I mean, it's
My
not as
question
likely,
was
not as
more,
likely.
if you do or don't have Nick Chubb, obviously having an IR spot would be clutch. But I mean, do you even fuck around with Kareem Hunt for 10 weeks? Yeah, taking a 0 for 10 weeks and not having that option is tough. I
Because
agree.
there's guys you could have picked up. I mean, we don't know who they are now, but injuries are going to happen.
Because then if you want to pick that guy up, you've got to draft Kareem Hunt. So what the fuck was the point of drafting Kareem Hunt? No, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting kind of thing. Another guy I'm interested in, not necessarily as a top pick, but Josh Gordon. What do we do with this guy? He's back. He's going to play. If you projected out his stats on the Patriots,
is he 100% playing, starting? Because last I heard Belichick was we haven't decided what to do with him.
I imagine by
Nah.
week 3 they'll be.
Yeah, but we know Bill Belichick has cut people nobody thought was going to get cut.
Oh, he's decided. He's just not telling anybody anything.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree, but I mean, I feel like
I'm like round 10 on. I wouldn't play with Josh Gordon.
if he had no intention, they would have probably already have cut him. When
you never know.
in the
That's
thing.
I mean, you got to see who else is.
I don't think
producing.
Philip Dorsett, Josh Gordon. Philip Dorsett, Josh Gordon.
Dorsett will get cut. I think he'll
Harry.
get cut. I think he'll get cut.
Well, he's not. I mean, he's projected to be the Brandon Cooks, Josh Gordon guy right now.
I know, and I'm predicting they're gonna cut him. That's my prediction.
Oh, okay, eventually.
Yes.
Because I was saying
That's what they have, N'Keal Harry.
they're waiting for N'Keal Harry to
I think
to come
Jacoby
through.
Myers is the best receiver besides
Edelman.
Edelman on the team, in my opinion. Just by watching him, and I love what he did at NC State. I think he'll be very good. It's my
And
own
that's the
opinion.
thing. But if that happens,
Yeah.
stashing Kareem Hunt, you won't be able to pick up a guy who, out the blue, nobody knows.
Correct.
Well, of course, there's always going to be out the blue guys. I mean, we know about that. That's every year. That's the beauty of winning your league on the waiver wire sometimes.
100%. But no, me, Josh Gordon, I'm double digits is my mark. I'm not taking him before round 10.
All right, so let's wrap up here with. It's a boring wrap up, but it's something that I have a strong opinion on.
Ooh.
And it's when do you take your kicker and your defense?
It is a
Kicker.
really boring wrap up. Wow.
I'm sorry. What would you like to wrap up with?
I don't know. We got to throw one more subject.
Yeah, you
All right,
need
fine.
like some long,
right, fine.
big time flyers
Fine,
or whatever.
fine,
Yeah,
fine.
But no,
Kicker and
my
defense.
my kicker's my last pick.
I'm going to
Defense.
turn your mic down, bitch.
I personally have 2 defenses that I will try to get in that 12 to 14 range. If they're gone, then they're literally my last 2 picks.
Because for me, for defense, yeah, you're right. I have 3 defenses. Last year, you know this. I was like, Bears or nothing.
Yeah.
I said it, I kind of said it to a couple people who were like, I'm not high on the Bears. I'm like, cool, I don't have to worry about them. But I was like, Bears or nothing last year, and it paid dividends. But you're right. If I don't get those 2-3 defenses, I'm actually almost playing week-to-week waiver wire defense with these guys.
I mean, you have to draft
that could
one.
be good. It could. Well, yeah, of course you have to draft. Well, and the team
That was bold
and
right
the,
there,
And
yeah.
the team that I draft will be my waiver wire week 1. They might not be on my team week 2.
Indeed.
But it affects. It also. I don't pick them up on waivers because some people do that. They're like, on Monday, I'm going to go pick up the Bucs defense because they play the Dolphins this week. Well, you just fucked your waiver position.
Yes.
I've seen that happen
Exactly.
too by not paying attention. I mean, I'm picking them up on
And then,
Saturday.
like I said, the quarterback gets hurt, and your quarterback gets hurt.
Yeah.
You can't pick up their backup because
Your waiver
you
position just went to the
picked
shit.
up the Miami Dolphins defense just because they were playing Buffalo.
Right. That's a bad pickup, by the way.
I'm
Interesting.
just saying.
Yep.
I know. I'm just busting. So, but for me, yeah, defense. If I don't get the 2 I target, I'm a week-to-week free agent guy.
Yeah, I stream. I don't try to select any specific defense. I stream completely, so I'll take my second to last pick will be on a defense that has a good week 1 matchup that I like. My streaming is not just like looking at the teams and being like, oh, this one's a bad team.
This team's,
I stream very specific reasons. I've come up with goes with the statistical analysis again. I think there's some really, really good data on finding team defenses, especially if you have a scoring system that makes a lot of sense. It's not just facing. It's not. I mean, totals. I think I use a lot. I certainly look at low totals, but it's specific quarterbacks. How much of the offensive line they're facing is out. Injuries become a huge factor, and then certain types of drives, coaching decisions. I go really, really hard into selecting team defenses. I know, again, way to finish a boring way, but
we're not finished. We're not finished.
I have a question
Yes.
on that. I mean, and I think that's actually pretty brilliant. I'm sure the size of the league factors in that as well.
Sure.
For instance, in a 12-team league, that seems like it might be a little more taxing than in an 8 or a 10 team.
Oh, 8 or 10, it's gold.
You're losing 2 to 4 defenses to choose from. Yeah.
So if you're in a 12-team league,
Yeah.
You just adjust your system, or do you play it a little bit different?
Yes, I do adjust it a little bit. Yeah, because you're gonna have much less to choose from, of course. So, and then if you're playing, let's say, a 16 to 18 team league or whatever, then there is no system to me. I'm picking a defense and I'm just sort of going with it because obviously there's not much on the wire. Yeah, but with a 12-team
and you don't want to
league,
lose the other defense.
A 12-team league is going to get fascinating. So we're in the same league, so it's kind of tough here. But I will look a week, sometimes 2 weeks in advance. See who's facing who, see what the team makeup is going on, if there are significant injuries on lines or situations like that. If I'm really confident a team is playing a really bad third-string quarterback, weather becomes a big factor too. I look at that. There's a lot of things like that. So I'm usually 2 weeks in advance, just keeping my situation there. Especially if you can get a team that has 2 really good matchups or matchups I deem good. I will look to hold for that, and I will use. I agree with you guys are right overall. You shouldn't be using waivers for defenses. If we're trying to get into the playoffs or it's crunch time and this team I got to beat to get ahead, I will use a waiver wire for a defense. Absolutely,
wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think it matters enough, and the analytics are that strong.
If you're by playoff time, yeah, I mean, I can understand that. But if you're using it in week 4,
you're playing a chess match.
Yeah,
It's all exactly, and there's some really strong stuff. Again, turnovers from your defense is going to be very random. I'm not trying to
sure. Turnovers and scoring are not where you want, or not where you're trying to. That's where your gravy is.
Correct, but scoring has a lot to do with yards allowed and plays that are called and things like that. Yeah,
No, I meant scoring as far as defensive touchdowns.
Oh, touchdowns. I'm sorry. Yes,
of course. And or punt return touchdowns.
Random.
Unless you have Dante Hall back there.
Oh, yes,
I don't think he's signed for this year. I don't think he is. Peter Warwick, he's not option either. No, he's not.
Wow. Yeah, that was interesting.
I'm a Florida State guy. That was my Florida State coming out.
All right, so yeah, that's where I'm at. So it's again, I really geek out with the defenses, and it has paid some dividends. It's not a lot of fun, for a lot of people, or whatever. I'm not saying it's something that I recommend, but yeah, it's a thing. But I don't necessarily target anybody in the draft. Just a good week 1 matchup. That's all for me.
Okay, since you didn't like my wrap up, here is the official wrap up.
Okay.
What are your thoughts? And have you ever been a part of a fantasy football punishment?
It's hard to think what you could be. Well, I guess.
Well, finishing
cheating.
last, or cheating. You're done. Dude. Okay. I don't like in trade dumps. I hate that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But I meant like finishing last. That's kind of the new thing now.
Fun. I haven't, but
I've never finished last.
Because to me,
I've seen tattoo beds. I've seen guys who have to like stand outside naked with a sign over that says "I really suck at fantasy football." I mean, things along those lines. I mean, I'm sure you've seen them. I'm sure you've seen it.
I'm all for it. I haven't done
as long as they're not
yet.
hurting somebody. Right?
I haven't done it yet, but like I said, as a degenerate with multiple side bets and multiple leagues, I 100% for it.
Because there's a league that was featured on ESPN.
Something semi-humiliating, a fine,
There's a league on ESPN that they come up at the draft with a tattoo that everyone agrees upon, and the person who finishes in last is to get that tattoo. They've been doing it for 15 years.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going that far.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
That's permanent.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
where
but
are
I
you?
say,
If you're talking about degeneracy, I mean, that's
But I mean, like,
ultimate. You're putting an
wearing
income.
a tutu on Las Vegas Boulevard, or
Yeah.
having to pay everybody that made the playoffs $50. Something of that nature.
That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah.
I'm all for it. But yeah, a tattoo or something like that.
It's tough. It's what level of degeneracy or what level of craziness are you? I mean, at that point.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp there. I love betting on necessarily anything, but yeah, if it's done that time, that day of, like as you said, doing something stupid on Las Vegas Boulevard, yeah, that's a day, one and done. The tattoo, I mean, that is life.
Faux life.
That is just life, and you have
Even
like
a sign. You can suck at fantasy football and come back next year.
sure,
Yeah.
and you have a miserable couple of hours.
No one will forget 2017 when you went 1-12.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. Or like, buying dinner, like dinner or something like that for, everyone that made playoffs. So yeah, again, it hits you where it counts, monetarily. I respect that. Absolutely. Tattoo stuff seems a bit.
I'm just
bit
saying
on the
there's
long side.
different levels of.
Yeah.
of
I mean, people can do what
this.
they want, nothing against it, but it's not for
Or
me.
making the last team guy buy the trophy. I mean, just anything of that nature is fun. And like I said, I'm all for it.
Agreed.
I haven't done it, but I'm something I will 100% actually may throw it out there next year for in the leagues that I run.
Yeah, that would be a fun one. Yeah,
we
punishment and like good lighthearted ones, especially because we're not crazy. Good lighthearted ones are good, but there's people who take it to another level. There's always in anything in life, there's going to be people who take it to another level.
I mean, it's hazing, and it
Effectively.
depends on.
And if it's agreed upon, it's legal hazing.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, I hope that one was at least a little more interesting than the kicker defense debate. So let's find that spot to wrap it up there. We want to thank everyone for listening. Obviously, we want to thank the sponsor, 12 Ounce Sports Radio. You can hear us twice a week on that. Obviously, we'll have college football and NFL picks every week coming for you. So for Tony Johnson, I want to thank Johnny D, the handsome black guy, for coming on.
Yes, sir.
And any parting words of wisdom from you guys to the fantasy football general public?
Last thing I'll say is, there's always about reaching and things like that or whatever. In my opinion, I don't care whether I'm reaching or whether I'm not. If the correct value is there in my statistics, my analysis and instinct, I'm just going to trust and go with. So I think that people should continue to trust and go with what their instinct is. Don't worry about whether someone thinks you're reaching or what the ADP is of a player. Take the guy who you think is the best guy in the situation.
And I'll leave with two things. There is no such thing as a bad team in the preseason. It's all opinions at this point. If you like a guy, like you said, if you've done your homework and he's who you want, and you think that Leonard Fournette's going to be the number one running back in your mind, that's you.
It's your money.
It's your money. You draft your team. And last thing I'll leave, if this was a stock market, my opinions, sell David Johnson.
Wow.
Sell David Johnson.
Wow, you are
Solid
that
advice.
against him. Wow, I didn't realize you were that far. Okay, cool.
Okay, well, that's a wrap on this. Again, want to thank 12 Ounce Sports Radio, Tony Johnson, and Johnny D for coming aboard. We obviously appreciate you listening. We will catch you on the next one. Good luck in your fantasy leagues.